All right, we're live. Hey everyone, Adam Ramden underway. We're live, everybody.
Hi there, welcome to those who are here watching and those who are joining us online. As you trickle in as we see the YouTube going live. Welcome from Lineage Journey. My name's Adam, and this is Aiko, and just the team introduce themselves. Those who have been able to make it this evening, and say where you are in the world, because we are an international team. We don't have a central location. We are kind of spanning almost every time zone we can have possible. So Clive, goes to you, then Suki, then I.
Oh, so I'm Clive, and I'm currently in California, Northern California.
I'm Suki. I'm currently in Melbourne, Australia.
And I'm Ashley. I'm currently in London, in the UK.
Cool. So we
Where are
also
you,
have.
Where are you?
I'm in Nottingham, England. I'm on the same time zone as Ashley. So we've got Pacific Coast in the US. We've got Greenwich Mean Time here in the UK, and we've got, I'm not sure what.
Australian Eastern Daylight Time.
Australian Eastern Daylight Time, AEDT. So when we have our team meetings, those of you watching, it's often a challenge because we've got to get one that's, we've got to basically straddle, have one early enough in the morning in Australia, and late enough at night, and then midday in California, and that's kind of how we, at the moment, how we do our team meetings. So we kind of all over the world. We're an international team, and we're very glad to be here. We just got a few updates that we wanted to share with you. We'll be here for, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so about what's coming up with Lineage. Our last series was the Great Controversy. Actually, no, our last series was actually the 1888 series that we released in July this year. Prior to that, we had the Great Controversy series that was last year, which went through every chapter of the book Great Controversy. Previous series have covered the Reformation, we've covered the seven churches, we've covered various aspects of the Bible. And so the series that we're about to release is actually released for a long time. It was probably in our heads or an idea to do this for at least the last 2, if not 3, if not 4 years to do that. We kind of had this idea, then we did the Great Controversy series, and we still had the idea for this series, and then we did our 1888 series, and so now we're about to launch this series, and it's going to be a series called Women of Christian History. When we covered season 1, we covered largely the prominent names that people are familiar with. We did Martin Luther, John Knox, John Calvin, and then the English reformers and so on. Prominent names, John Wesley. And we missed out many of the women of the Reformation. We did cover one, and then a few years after that, one of our team members who's on the call, Suki, she wrote a book called Sisters in Arms, and it's been a bestseller for Science Publishing. Since then, it's been one of our bestsellers as well, and that highlighted 8 women of the Reformation, and it made us think, hey, we should do a women series. And so our next series is going to be our Women of Christian History series, and we're really excited. It's kind of been a long time in the coming, and it's coming out in just a few weeks time. And so we just want to share a few stories about that, some of the characters that we're going to be covering, some of the stories from the filming, and then we also have another exciting addition to that we haven't done in any previous series that we'll share with you in just a few moments as well. Something new that we're adding on to the series as well. So Clive, I don't know, should we just share some of or Suki maybe share some of the characters that we're covering in this series? Maybe 2 or 3 of the highlight ones for you.
Yeah. So we're covering quite a few women that are known and quite a few women that are not known. So among the women that are known is Katrina von Bora. She was Martin Luther's wife. She famously escaped the convent in a fish barrel with 11 other nuns. She also famously kind of proposed to Martin Luther. Luther was saying he wouldn't get married till like literally weeks before he married her. She was amazing. Kind of a Proverbs 31 woman, but she was really feisty, really opinionated. And so we're looking at Katerina, which is really cool. We're also looking at a woman that's not as well known, and this is another highlight for me, Marie Dontier. She was originally born in like the north of France. She lived in Strasbourg for a little bit, and then she ended up in Geneva. And she's the only woman to be featured on the Reformation Wall in Geneva, which is really cool. But there's not a lot known about her. And so we thought, yeah, she was one person that we want to talk about. And there's a host more, so about 20 or 22 episodes. And so we're really, really excited about that. Yeah. So that's 2 of the highlights. And there's a bunch more. Yeah.
Cool. So you got Katerina von Bora, Marie Dantier. We've got how many are we doing in total for the Reformation series?
We're doing 22. So we've got Argula von Grambach. She's another little known character. But then we're doing Anna Zwingli. She was the wife of Ulrich Zwingli. Who else are we doing off the top of our heads? We're doing Susanna Wesley. The famous mom of John and Charles Wesley. We're also doing Perpetua. She was one of the early Christian martyrs. So we're kind of covering a really good time span as well, from the early church right down to, the Wesleys, which was later. And so we're really looking forward to it. 22 in total.
If you think about it as well, I was just thinking about it more a few days ago. It spans continents because Perpetua's she's from Africa, showing early Christianity had strong roots in Africa, in the African church. And then obviously we progress and we cover Europe as well. And so we see the spread of Christianity in the early centuries and Reformation and so on.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there. Towards the end, we're going to answer a few questions. So if anyone has any questions, just fire them away at us and we can get to them towards the end. Of the stream. Anything we're talking about, just put it in the comments and we'll get to it.
So those of you who are watching, if you wonder what we do, those of us here on the team, Clive is our main media director, filmer, editor, and oversees a whole host of media related things. Ashley is our photographer, he's our graphic designer and leads our design. And so Clive obviously has been on most of the filming for the trip. Jasper did a portion as well. Ashley's been on some of the filming trips. But I just want to throw it out to you two. Any stories from the filming and the producing of it on that side that stand out to you that you want to share? Now we have to be careful with what we share and what we don't share. What stays on filming trips sometimes stays on filming trips. But let's just share something. Some of you may have seen we don't need to go over the story, but some people who are watching maybe saw the Rome story that was on our stories where our car got broken into and Ashley. Anyway, you go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, I think the first thing I say about it, as Suki mentioned, some of the stories is probably more than any other series we filmed. A lot of these stories were new to me, so there was this amazing thing of discovery. With most of the locations we went, we were kind of figuring out some of these stories for the first time, and I think. We'll talk about the Rome trip, definitely. I think one of the big ones for me, a big trip that we went on was the story of Perpetua, which was in North Africa. And I found it just, there's a few things that happened on the trip, but it was actually really amazing to be hearing some of the stories of the early Christians in the early church. It's kind of pre some of the Reformation stuff that we'd looked at, but just to see kind of the courage of the Christians. I don't want to give away everything that happens in the episode, but those who are facing kind of death in the arena at the hands of wild animals, and just the courage that they had, and then actually going on the trip and standing in that arena. And I think there was a point where we were in one of the prison cells, and possibly the cell where Perpetua and the people she was with, and actually, this always happens to a certain extent on Lineage filming trips, but knowing you're in the spot where someone made that decision to give their life for God is always powerful. So there was that, and then there were also some testimonies, some amazing moments. I know we put some of it on our stories, but I don't know, Clive, if you want to share what happened in Rome.
I knew you were going to throw it to me.
Really?
So just a heads up, we have the Perpetua episode queued, so we are going to be playing that at some point as we finish this discussion. But yeah, Tunisia was an interesting experience. We landed, we were going through security to come out of the airport, and we put our bags through the scanner. They scanned our bags, and they realized that we had all this camera gear. And to cut a long story short, they accused us of being US spies. And Adam actually was our commander, our captain, and the general, and he was the leader.
Special forces, always. Special forces.
So
you didn't have any US citizens.
It was
funny.
There were no US citizens.
Yeah, we didn't have any US citizens with us, but apparently, I live here over here in California, but I have a British passport.
The first question was journalists. Are you journalists? And we were like,
Journalists,
no, we're not journalists. We showed them our YouTube page. We showed them what we do. We kind of showed all our historical documentaries that we do, and I don't know, they didn't believe that it was true, or our 70,000 subscribers were just make believe or something. I don't know.
The big ruse.
And they thought there was some bigger story that, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, they took our cameras off us.
Yeah, they ended up taking all our stuff off, and then I think one of the officers was thought one of us was kind of filming behind the scenes, and they weren't, and they came and touched the camera. It was a GoPro that I think one of the team members had in their hands, and it actually triggered the record button. And so they thought that we were recording the whole thing, and we actually weren't. And then they ended up confiscating everything. The only thing they kept us with was our phones. But we still managed to, once we kind of figured all that out and got out the airport, we were left with literally nothing. I think the only thing we managed to keep was our microphones. And
we had our mics. Yeah.
We ended up finding a rental agency about 15-20.
We prayed first.
Yeah, we did pray first.
Yeah, we prayed as soon as we realized we had nothing to film with.
Yeah, because we had Ashley got his cameras taken away, so there's no photos. I got mine taken away, so there's no videos. All the behind the scenes stuff got taken away. Literally, it was just our iPhones. But after some prayer, we found a rental agency probably about 15-20 minutes away from the airport, and we were able to rent pretty much everything that got confiscated.
We did a bit more basic unit. I think you only rented 1 or 2 lenses.
Yeah, we didn't have the same capacity, but in terms of the quality, we were still able to produce the same quality of episode that we normally do, and it was really inexpensive. I think we paid like $150 or something for 2 days.
That's right, in cash with no down payment, no passport, no credit card. No.
I just find that crazy because we literally could have jumped on the plane with all their stuff, and there was no way of tracing us. But
we didn't.
But we didn't. We remembered the story from Rome and how our stuff got preserved. So that's one story that happened. But in Rome, I guess we'll share the story. We went out filming in the city, and all of our stuff was kind of locked in the boot, and I'll translate for the Americans, the trunk. And they were kind of all hidden. Nothing was on show. And we got back, and the window had been smashed of our car, and the seats had been folded down. And immediately you think, oh no, everything's gone that's in the boot. But actually, Ashley's laptop was there, the drone was there, the cameras were there that were left, and everything was on full display. So like anyone just walking past could have just taken it out. It was pretty amazing to see how God had just preserved our stuff, and that even though the car had been broken into, nothing of ours was taken. And I think Ashley, you had your passport in there as well, right? Yeah. I think
I don't usually, but
yeah.
Yeah, I had my passport just in the bag, but it was still there. Praise the Lord.
Yeah. But someone just wrote a comment that I have to put on screen. They said, you probably rented back your own equipment. And it's actually funny because we were thinking that at the time, but rest assured, it definitely wasn't our own equipment because we had to set everything up from scratch. But yeah, I kind of was thinking that maybe there's some system at the airport where they just confiscate and then rent it down the road. To be fair, the place that we rented from was some
top notch.
Yeah, it was top notch, but it looked like it was
just someone's house. But in their house, they had like all this movie equipment, as if, I guess people go to Tunisia and do like proper movie filming in the desert and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of one story. That was probably the 2 standout stories, if I remember correctly. And then I think I remember the first night we went to Italy the first time, and we got there after. I mean, I was traveling the furthest from Northern California, and then the power was out. Remember, in the whole house. And the whole block, we rented an Airbnb, and the power was out, and it was freezing cold because it was still springtime, and we were all huddled by the cooker with the gas burners on,
to keep warm in pitch black on the first night. And so we had some experiences, but God has definitely been blessing.
Yeah, there's some great stories coming up. I mean, we covered the Swiss Reformation, German Reformation. French has a strong presence in the next series. We also have Italian, which is kind of new because you don't really associate the Reformation with Italy, but there's some key women there, some very brave women that stood up to the Pope and had private audiences on behalf of reformers to the Pope. We also went to Spain. We covered 4 key Spanish women there in Sevilla. We went to Denmark as well, England and Scotland, Tunisia, as we just mentioned. So there's kind of a broad range of countries, and
Scandinavia too.
Yeah.
Scandinavia too.
Yeah.
So why don't we play the episode?
So for those of you who are watching, you're getting a sneak preview here. Sneak preview of the first episode of Perpetua, who's from current day Tunisia, ancient Carthage, and you get to see this ahead of everyone else. And
then after we play the episode, we'll talk a little bit about
the new thing.
Some refreshing that we've done in the videos. Those who are watching the episode for the first time, you'll see that we've changed the style a little bit and kind of improved things. We've kind of been working behind the scenes for the last year to kind of develop how we display the series as well, to improve it. We've had lots of feedback from people and tried to put it all together, but maybe we can touch on that a little bit after. So here goes.
At the time of her death, she was in her 20s with a child who had just been weaned. The place of her martyrdom was here in Carthage, today in modern-day Tunisia, a country that is 99% Muslim with very few Christians. But back in 203 AD, it was the center of a thriving Christian community. The Roman emperor at the time, Septimius Severus, wanted to cripple Christianity, believing that it was a threat to the Roman Empire, and he zeroed his attention and attacks on the believers here in Carthage. The governor of Carthage, Hilarion, enforced the edict from Rome, and the first to be arrested were 5 Christians who were preparing to be baptized, one of whom was Perpetua and her servant or slave, Felicitas. Perpetua was a woman of noble birth, but we have little record of how she came to be a Christian, or how long she was a Christian, or what it was like to be a Christian back then. She did keep a diary prior to her death though, so we do have some idea as to what her closing days were like. All her family was not Christian though, and her father was a pagan and openly opposed to her being a Christian, and he came to visit her in prison, trying to get her to deny her faith. She spoke back to him though in words that have been oft repeated in telling her story. She said, "Father, do you see this vase or this picture? Can it be called by any other name?" "No," he replied. "Well, neither can I be called by anything other than what I am, a Christian." In addition to the emotional torment, she suffered physical adversity with the extreme heat, rough prison guards, and the cessation of breastfeeding. Thankfully, she and the others were able to move to a better part of the prison, and she was able to breastfeed her child again. As the hearing approached, her father visited her, pleading with her to have pity on him, her mother, her brothers, and her child who would soon be motherless, telling her to give up on her pride. Though she was touched by his pleas, she was unshaken in her resolve that she could not deny her faith. As the trial started, Perpetua was the last one to be tried, with the previous 4 all declaring their faith in Jesus. As she stood up, her father burst into the room, holding her baby, saying, "Perform the sacrifice, have mercy on your child." Even Hilarianus, adjudicating, looked to her and said, "Have pity on your father, your baby, and perform the sacrifice." Perpetua simply replied, "I will not." "Are you a Christian then?" she was asked. "Yes, I am." Again, her father begged her, to offer the sacrifice, and this time he was beaten into silence, and Perpetua was condemned to die and taken away. Around this time, Perpetua's servant Felicity was 8 months pregnant, and it was against the law to execute a pregnant woman. They would wait instead until after the baby had been born. However, she wanted to die with her friends rather than later on her own or with other criminals. And so they gathered together about 2 or 3 days prior to the hearing, and they prayed that she could face the beast with them, her fellow Christians. Immediately, she went into labor and had a painful birth, delivering a baby girl who was then raised by another Christian woman. As they were led out to the amphitheater right here behind me, they called out to the pure curator who had condemned them, "You have judged us, but God will judge you." That day, a bear, a wild boar, and a leopard were chosen to face them, with a leopard killing one of them with a single bite. The 2 young women were stripped naked and clothed in nets and were trampled and kicked at by the wild boar. Perpetua, though, seemed unconcerned with the animal, carefully binding up her hair so as to face death with as much dignity as possible. After they had been brutalized by the animals, those who were still alive were gathered together to be killed with the sword. They each gave one another a kiss of peace, and then they were stabbed. But Perpetua was stabbed by a novice gladiator whose hand was shaking, and she did not die. She screamed loudly, then grabbed the blade and pulled it towards her throat, and in this way she embraced her death. She died with dignity, fortitude, and courage. A basilica that now lies in ruins was erected over the graves of these faithful martyrs, and Christians around the world in various denominations celebrate the life of Perpetua on either March the 6th or March the 7th, and Christians in this area for many years after her death used to gather and read excerpts from her diary. However, her greatest legacy is the innumerable Christians that she has inspired and encouraged over the years. Her own father tried to dissuade her. She gave up a life of ease and comfort. She died a gruesome death, and she gave her child to be raised by someone else. However, none of these things could shake from her the conviction that God was first in her life. In Matthew 6 verse 33, it tells us, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto us." We often assume that all these things is riches or material comfort or a good education or a good family. But what if not? What if it means a life of toil, hardship, trial, and adversity? May we put God first in our lives, no matter what lot we are given, because first is the only place that God should be. Lineage is a crowd-funded non-profit studio. We make videos, we write articles and books, and we've got a podcast. And it's all to share the stories of biblical and Christian role models in history. We uncover heroes from the past to inspire, guide, and help today's generation connect the past with the present and the future. And it's all free for you because it's been generously paid for by thousands of supporters all over the world. Your support is helping millions of people understand their identity, their purpose, and their mission in life. Crowdfunded means whatever you give, big or small, helps us accomplish our mission. You can help us make more resources by joining our mission. You can give at lineagejourney.com.
There you have it. Adam, you're muted.
It wouldn't be a Zoom without someone being muted once. Yeah, there you have it. There's our first episode. We'll be releasing that in a couple of weeks for those that obviously don't watch it here, and they'll see it when it comes out. That's the first one on Perpetua. Exciting series and an inspiring story. Clive, you want to talk? I mean, people have seen it who just watched it, but you want to talk a little bit about the refresh that we've done from, I guess, the last 5 seasons or so?
Yeah, I mean, Lineage is celebrating 10 years next year of its origin. our first videos came out at the beginning of 2017, but we began filming in 2016. And it started off as a very small project that we were just doing for our youth of our conference at the time in England. And it's kind of developed and mushroomed into the ministry that it is today. You know, God has tremendously blessed it. But when we first created the series, it was, I guess it was very rushed, and it was just spur of the moment, and we kind of didn't develop it properly enough. And you know, God has managed to tremendously bless it, like I said. But we wanted to kind of refresh the graphics. We wanted to, one of the complaints that we're having is the music's too loud. So we kind of toned down the music a little bit. Or sometimes we've had, you know, when you're playing this in churches or in schools, on projectors, on screens, sometimes the quotations are hard to read because of the color choices. So again, just changing those things and making the quotations look better and be more visible. So we've kind of been intentional about kind of improving and listening to the feedback over the years. And we haven't always had the time to do it. It's just been on the back of the mind. But over the last year or so, as some of us have transitioned into part-time, full-time work for Lineage, we've been able to really develop and hopefully create a better looking series that's easier to engage with. Ashley, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think just from the graphics thing, it's something that we've tried to kind of keep that identity throughout, and we'll talk about how that fits into kind of other projects as well. But it's I think it's really nice to have a kind of differentiation, because sometimes we are talking about the same periods of history that we might have looked at before. But I think looking at the angle of the women in that history, it just gives it a very fresh kind of look. And I think in some stories, you almost feel like you're getting the rest of the story that you were kind of missing in, you know, the first couple of series. So yeah, it's a nice, clear kind of visual separation and knowing that this is something new. But it's also kind of helping to flesh out and tell the full story of some of the other places that we've been to.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, and this new style is bleeds over into the second part of what this new series, Women of Christian History, is about. So originally, and in fact, all of our previous series have just been the short form video content that we've kind of specialized in over the last so many years. But in this series, we've got something new added onto that we filmed earlier this year in February. And so, Suki, do you want to share with us what that is? It was your idea to add this to the series. So share with us what it is, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, 2 years ago, I messaged Clive and I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do a podcast about women, for women, by women? I'd, you know, published my books by then. And at that time, I don't think we were thinking about a women's series, but I think we were in the middle of the Great Controversy, filming it. And so we kind of talked about it, we shelved it. And then when we decided to do this women's series, we were like, hey, let's do it all together. And so we decided to do a podcast episode, which is about 40 minutes long, for each episode that we do on each woman, which is pretty cool. And so there's 4 of us: myself, Aiko, Clive's wife, Charlene, Ashley's wife, Chingy. And what we do in each episode is we look at the lives of each of these women. And then we talk about what are some of the themes that are relevant to us today? What is that, you know, what are some of the things that they went through that, you know, can translate back into how we live our lives today? And it's basically, the podcast links the past with the present and looks at how the past can affect our present and our future. And so we're really excited about it. And it's raw, it's unedited, not unedited, it's edited, but it's raw and it's unscripted. I wouldn't say unedited.
You weren't reading from a script, like, over to you now.
It's raw and it's unscripted. Okay, so we just jumped in and started talking, and it was really, really a fun experience. Hey, Aiko, like, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I just prepared a quick 2-minute clip just to kind of give the viewers some kind of idea of what it is. So I'm just gonna play that, and then we can join the discussion after.
Now you're this Christian, and you are weird, completely like a fish out of water. You've assumed this new identity, which I think in Perpetua's case, her father probably thought she was nuts to be doing this. Like, here she was, a noblewoman, a Roman noblewoman, a citizen of Rome. She'd arrived, and she's willing to throw all of this away for this Jesus, this Jew that was nailed to a cross like 300 years ago. Like, what?
There you go, just a little snippet.
Little sneak preview. So what we're going to do with those our episodes, short form content releases, as we have been doing for the last several years, is going to release every Friday. And then the podcast, is it Monday or Tuesday? I think one of those.
We haven't kind of decided yet, but it's either Monday.
But it will release like after the weekend at the beginning of the week. So it'll be about 3 or 4 days in between the short form videos. People get a chance to watch that. And then the podcast on that episode will release 3 or 4 days later. And so we'll be doing that throughout the whole series. Short video, podcast, all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very excited about. So we've got a women's series, short form video, and podcast. And then anything else on the podcast or the women before we move on to the next thing?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Okay. So the next thing we wanted to mention, and it's something that's already out there, but we thought we'd bring it up because it's been a major part of the last few months for us. And that is we have some of you have seen it. It's been a new produced book, The Great Controversy, that Lineage has put out. Clive's holding one up there. It's an illustrated Great Controversy. I think one of the best illustrated ones that there is around. Ashley has taken thousands of pictures on Lineage filming trips over the years, and they've been great to use on our website. I use them when I'm preaching. They've been great on our social media channels. Now you get a chance to have a lot of those pictures in a large, format in the book Great Controversy. If you've read the Great Controversy, if you've never read it before, it's a great book to read. If you've read it before, I've had people that have told me as they're reading this, wow, I'm reading this book again, and it's like it's coming alive. The pictures are bringing it to life. I'm reading about Martin Luther and Wartburg Castle. I'm seeing pictures of it. Not only are there pictures in it, but there's also discussion questions at the end of every chapter. About 5 discussion questions give you a chance to reflect or small group study. And there's also, in every chapter, there's a QR code at the beginning, a QR code at the end, which takes you to a specific video filmed for that chapter. Some of the chapters have more than one QR code because there's multiple people covered. And so we have other videos on them, but at least one video with a scanned QR code per chapter. And so that's been a kind of a big project that particularly Clive and Ashley were working on for the last 2 years. We launched it in July, and the sales have just been kind of off the chart since then. People are really enjoying it. People are buying it as gifts, as presents, as special family edition books that they have. And we printed our first batch, and we basically almost out. So we printed our second batch, and those are going to be delivered hopefully in the next few weeks. But it's been an excellent resource that people have really been found a blessing for their educational, spiritual growth as well. You want to share a little bit on that, Clive or Ashley, in terms of?
Let me say one more thing that it includes. Further adding to its educational value is it also includes works of art that are relevant to the chapter. So it includes that art history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
and
true.
maps. So you can see where's that location of that chapter, what's it taking place, and so on.
Yeah. There's a QR code in the top right of the screen. If you scan that, it'll take you straight to our website where you can view more information on it. It was quite a process, but it has been a tremendous blessing. We've had so many stories already. We have another video if anyone wants to watch it on how this book has landed in some governors of some of the states in the US and potentially on Donald Trump's desk. His secretary took one in Texas. So it's got into places. I received a call from someone a few weeks ago, probably a couple of weeks ago, who placed an order, and he's meeting the King of Brunei, who's also the Prime Minister of Brunei, and he's bought a couple of copies to give to them. So it's a premium edition. the goal is to kind of visualize it. If you have a doctor's office or if you have an optician's or something like that, you can put it on the table in the waiting room so someone can just grab it and see, oh, what's all this about? So yeah, it's been such a blessing to work on it. But to hear some of the stories of people who are actually getting these books in their hands has been really good as well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of that full circle moment, isn't it? Because I remember like when we started Lineage, it was kind of taking some of the things that we had read in the Great Controversy and actually bringing them to life, like going to those places. So there's so many people that I've spoken to who, they've always had it on their list. Like, I really want to get into trying to read the Great Controversy, but it can be a challenging book if you're not, if you don't enjoy reading that much. It is kind of heavy. And so while this is exactly the same text, I think just adding those extra bits of information, that relatable content, the photos from the places, and just links to the videos as well, does make it so much more digestible. And it's great to hear, some of my friends who've, struggled to get into the Great Controversy. They're like, this is the edition I can actually kind of read and can take a lot from. So yeah, that's always amazing to hear.
And I had someone say those exact words to me as well. Like I showed a picture to someone, young person, 30 or so, or under 30, and they were like, finally, an edition I think I can read. Like, I know I'm supposed to read that book, but I haven't been able, just can't get my head around whatever. I think I can read this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, Ashley has taken most of the images in the book, but I remember when we first started the ministry and we're going on our first filming trip. I think we're going up to Scotland,
Dundee, St. Andrews.
Ashley's laughing already, and I told Adam. I said to Adam, hey, Ashley wants to come. He's going to take some pictures. And I remember you said, what do we need pictures for? And in my head, I was like, I don't know. What do we need pictures for? And, I guess God was working ahead of us because Ashley knew we needed pictures. And, it's been a tremendous blessing that he's been able to accompany us on most of these trips. There have been other people who've contributed as well when Ashley hasn't been able to come. So it's been definitely a team effort. But, it's been a blessing that God thought about this way before we even thought about it. And we've been able to compile all these images that we have so many thousands worth of images and being able to condense them down into this book. So yeah, thanks Ashley for coming.
Yeah. Next time Clive asks you to do a favor, no, it might be the next 10 years of your life. But
might be. Yeah. So yeah, that's our Great Controversy. If you want to check it out, you can go to our website and you'll find it on there.
I have a video for it as well. I can play it. Just a quick.
Oh yeah, play the video quickly. Yeah. Before we close. Yeah.
The greatest story ever told began with a war in heaven, reached its climax at the cross, and finds its culmination through the historical narrative of the church. If there was only one book you could read to understand the epic struggle between Christ and Satan, it should be this one. The illustrated Great Controversy takes you on an unforgettable journey through the tragedies and triumphs of the church, drawing you inexorably onward to the great finale of this earth's history, Jesus returning for those he loves. The book features QR codes directly linked to short videos summarizing each chapter, along with discussion questions which can be used to facilitate personal reflection or small group discussion. Our website also features chapter summaries and historical articles linked to the book, which are designed to enhance your reading experience. Don't wait. Go ahead and grab your copy today from lineagejourney.com/shop.
I guess that's one thing we didn't talk about is the whole digital platform that goes along with the Great Controversy. So once you scan those QR codes in the books, you get access to videos and you get so much more historical content, photos. Maybe Suki, you can mention something about the articles that are written that go along with the chapters and tell us a little bit more about those. You're muted too, by the way.
Sorry. So whenever we do a series, we always produce articles on our website with additional historical details, sometimes blog posts. And so when it came to the Great Controversy, we did the same thing. Each of the episodes on the website are a summary, but also in some ways an expansion of each chapter. So we summarize information that's already available or that's already present in the book, but then I've added like extra historical anecdotes or extra historical stories into each of those chapter descriptive articles that kind of expand your understanding. So you can watch the episode, you can read the article. That kind of helps you to understand a little bit more of the background. Like, for example, the first chapter on the destruction of Jerusalem, I've added in information about what triggered the Roman assault against Jerusalem, some of the extra stories there. They're really cool, that give you a little bit of background. So it's that kind of thing. And so all that's on the website, and you can watch the video, read the article, and then that kind of expands the book as well. Because then when you read the book, you've got all that extra information. So yeah, it's pretty layered.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So, for those of you who are watching, or if you're watching later on, thank you for joining us. This is just a short update as to what's coming in the next few weeks for Lineage and what has already been here. The next steps, in a sense, what you'll see in the next few weeks, we're going to have our posters launched for our new episode. If you're on our socials, if you're following us there at Lineage Journey, please like them, please share them with other people. And we also are going to have our trailer that's going to launch that will share brief background of the women's series, and please, those of you who are following us, share that as well. And then our series is going to launch, and we've got 23 episodes releasing on a weekly basis for the next, whatever that is, about 4.5, 5 months. And so we're really excited about that. We do have another series coming up that we're in the planning stages now, filming next spring, summer, and launching next year. But we'll save that for another live stream coming up in the future. So we just wanted to give you an update as to where we are now. I know we haven't been on the live stream for quite a while, and so that's where we are. For those of you who follow us, who pray for us, thank you very much for all your support, all your prayers. And for those of you who use our materials in your churches, in your schools, in your homes, thank you for using it. Please do send stories in, how Lineage has been a blessing to you, how you use it. We've heard some interesting and amazing stories about how Lineage is being used. Please do share them with us. We really enjoy hearing how Lineage has been a blessing to people. And thank you for those who support us as well, whether financially as well. We can't do this. We are blessed by the generosity of thousands of people around the world. So we really appreciate those who sacrifice, those who give, whatever it is, from the small to the large. All of those are greatly appreciated. They all go straight into the production of what we do. And so thank you for the generosity of our supporters and for the big hearts some of you have. Some of you watch a video and you're just moved and impressed and you donate. Thank you so much for that. We couldn't do it without you. So really appreciate all of that, and may God bless you. Anyone else on the team want to say any final words before we go?
No, just thanks again. Thank you. Like, when you buy these books or when you donate, it definitely goes into creating all the free resources that the digital free resources anyway, that we're able to produce. So just thank you to everyone who has done that. And if you want more information, you can just visit our website, lineagejourney.com/give.
Yeah. Email address, if you want any more information, is info@lineagejourney.com. info@lineagejourney.com. If you've got any questions for us or you want to write to us about anything, then please do so. So thank you, and God bless.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. God bless.